test the water. Once the company know you're going to be testing the water, they would less be apt to put something in the water. Two, get a dog or a cat and put the water down. They don't drink it, and something's wrong with it. See, a dog or a cat, and this is the problem with Jimmy Jones. When they said Jimmy Jones and the people was drinking the Kool-Aid with the cyanide in it, and the cats and the dogs was dead, a dog would not drink straight Kool-Aid, less long Kool-Aid with cyanide in it, okay? If you take water out the tap and put it for a dog or a cat, they will walk around it. Not just so happen chlorine and fluorine is a gas. All gas move to a higher level. And so there's a period when the dog or the cat will come and drink the water. But I would say don't drink the still water unless you're on a fast, because the still water will rob your body of minerals. Don't drink mineral water, because mineral water is radioactive. But spring water is the water to drink. That's number one. The body's 97% liquid, and out of that is 85% water. Alzheimer's disease comes from lack of drinking water. The lower back problems we have come from lack of drinking water. Gallstones and kidney stones come from lack of drinking water. And then again, if someone come and told you to drink clean water, even if what they said was wrong, if it didn't do nothing for you, it's not going to do nothing against you. You have not put anything in your body that would create any type of problem. Number two, physical fitness. And we as African Americans have to stop looking at physical fitness as some game. We have to stop looking at it as some age, as some sex. Every black person, regardless of how old they are or how young they are, babies get there. They move around in the crib, they do their thing. And so we got drinking water, physical fitness, and sleep. And if I had to rearrange that, I would probably put sleep first. Rest. One of the big horrors, particularly in the black community, it happens all over, is lack of rest. The body, the brain, 9 minutes after the sun go down, the radiation belt in the atmosphere do a flip-flop, and it recharges the brains, and all the sleep you get after midnight don't count. That's what the story of Cinderella's about. And so for those of you out there that's listening to me, try it. And usually you say 7 days. Let me tell you how you drink your water. When you start drinking water, when you're not used to drinking water, you're going to go to the bathroom a lot if you have a job. And God didn't leave leeway for jobs. You know, Jesus Christ is God's son. Jesus didn't work. You know, if you look at all the rich, super rich people, Prince Charles, they never had a job. And Queen Elizabeth, I don't think she even knew how to spell it. You know, and I believe every day, if you went to Buckingham Palace and took every dictionary they had, I do not believe they put the word job in there or work. And so when you look and say, well, I can't do this because I have to work, the universe will not bend over for you. Now, you get up in the morning, the minute you get up, you drink a glass of water. If you're not driving over long periods of time where you're going to need to go to the toilet, drink 2 glasses of water. When you get to wherever you're going, between that time and 11 o'clock, drink 2 more. Now, you got the rest of the day to drink the other 4. Now, here's a simple law. Would a 6-month-old baby drink 8 glasses of water? No. Mothers give babies water by ounces. X amount of ounces. Well, the real game is we just say 8-ounce glasses of water. Whatever you weigh in pounds, you're supposed to drink half that in ounces. If you weigh 200 pounds, you're supposed to drink 100 ounces of water. If you weigh 1,000 pounds, you're supposed to drink 500 ounces of water. Now let me tell you how water works. If I held up, if this was a piece of cloth, and I held it here, and I gave you a sharp hatchet, and you hit this cloth, you would tear it. If I put this cloth in a bathtub of water and you hit it, you couldn't tear it. It floats with the water. The body's the same way. If you fall, if you're injured, if you're in an automobile accident, this is why babies can fall out windows. We read about it all the time. And don't die, because the water balance is there. Okay, and rest. Even when you're not sleeping, rest. And when I'm talking about rest, I'm not talking about on the phone talking. I'm talking about taking some time out every day where you just close the system down. Minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just close it down. And that rejuvenates the body. And so now we're talking about sleep and rest. We're talking about water, and we're talking about physical fitness. Now, jogging is not physical fitness. Weightlifting is not physical fitness. Physical fitness is, first, your heel got to touch the ground. So if you're on a bicycle, that don't count. If you're walking up steps, that don't count. The heel got to touch the ground. If you're running, what is running? When both your feet is off the ground at the same time, it could be 1/10 billionth of a second, that's running. And what happens then? Because of gravity pull, anytime both your feet is off the ground at the same time, which is called running, When your legs, when your feet hit, it sends 2.5 times your body's weight up your legs, to your knees, up to the spine, and sends shock waves to the brain, which damage it. And so walking. Now, walking in the evening don't count. In the morning, when you lay down in bed and go to sleep, the grease in your bloodstream comes up to the top. If you go out and walk vigorously, don't start off that way, but you have to walk to the point that you're just tired and sweating and you push all it out. Now, what you will notice even joggers, if joggers go out and run, the day they take off, they get very irritable around 10 o'clock. That's when that grease starts moving back into the bloodstream. And so the 3 things is rest. And you see, one of the great tricks, and it's funny, everybody working 2 jobs except the people that control. They don't work 2 jobs, 3 jobs, 4 jobs, a job and something on the side. It's not about that. Show me somebody that has 2 jobs. I'll show you somebody that has no money at all. I mean, that's a game they play. I mean, some kind of way we have to redo our priorities. And we have to say, wait to the system. It's about my health. It's about my love. It's about my kindness. It's about my gentleness. And those 3 things, you'll see a difference in 7 days. Now, how do you get into the physical fitness? Well, I can't do it. I got a bad leg. Didn't walk bad. If I told you there was $20 million worth of gold over there, and every morning if you walk 2 miles, you could get it. Bad leg folks, everybody be out there walking. So what you have to do is start slow. Start 5 minutes. And then after a week or 3 days, the problem you have, someone hear this and say, he's right, I got to do it. Then they go out and hog it, something breaks, and don't. When you get through, then do your physical fitness. Do your physical fitness. I say to people who haven't trained, you out there that's 80 years old, 60, 40, been out of high school 20 years, haven't the physical, stand in the mirror when you do your physical fitness naked. Why did I say naked? See, if you had clothes on, you're doing physical fitness, you hear something go zoop, you say, oh, I tore my shirt. If you're naked and hear something go zoop, you know that's you. And the minute you feel something, that's God saying stop. Stop. It'll heal. The minute you feel it, stop. Don't push it. And once that heals, go back. And that's all I can say. Water, physical fitness, and rest. And if you said 4, it'd be the diet. Very important. And when we talk about water, Kool-Aid don't count, lemonade don't count, orange juice don't count, fresh grapefruit juice don't count. Why? Because they have to go through the digestive system. Water goes directly into the system and starts purifying the system, and also it cools the body. It's your cooling system. One of the problems we have, can you imagine every year, every cell in your body, your brain has a convention, check you out. Say, well, what's old brother Greg doing this year? Say, well, he's 15 years old and he's drinking too much Kool-Aid and he's not drinking enough water. Say, okay, let's give him a warning. Let's put thirst. Where are we going to put it? Well, he got to be kind of stupid, so let's put it right in his throat. And we ignore it. And we ignore it. And then when you get about 60 years old, some people, 49, 50, they come every year and have this meeting. They say, well, what do you think? Say, well, let's take his right to get thirsty away. There's no need wasting the time. That's for Alzheimer's disease. And if you don't believe it, find people with Alzheimer's disease and ask them, when's the last time you've been thirsty?
And welcome to Wake and Bake. I'm your host, Chapati, and we're here with a very special guest, a world-class reformer of consciousness and enlightenment and knowledge about food and diet, Mr. Dick Gregory.
Thank you, brother.
A pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you for doing what you're doing, too.
We all have to do it. Food is so prominent now in the world, and with the enlightenment of people's thoughts, their awareness, their consciousness, their activity, their emotions. Tell me a bit about the importance to you that natural and organic food has, and how you can convey this to our audience.
Well, remember, that's just part of it, a small part. There's enough food blown on this planet to feed everybody. You got a handful of thugs that we ain't gonna mess with.
Yes.
So we do all these shows and we'll skip past them.
Yes.
Monsanto, all these folks that deliberately destroy crops.
Yes.
We have food and dairy the government pays to keep off the market.
Yes.
Nobody should have to go to bed hungry on this planet.
Understand.
So what they have now, they've taught us how to eat for taste and not for nutrition.
Right.
And so with that, So what they got food now that's in the warehouse, that's been in the warehouse 5 years. And so we're not eating fresh food, we're not eating anything that's healthy or nutritious. And so until we deal with that, the rest of it we just playing with. There are people who are willing to pay to say, give me some organic food, give me some this and give me some that. That don't count. The masses of the people who would never think about buying water, who would never think about just buying the little small. You can't even get the right seeds now because Montana, these thugs have already genetically engineered them.
Yes, I know.
And so consequently, it's almost so big, but money is not power, education is not power, information is power. So what you're doing here is putting information out. So this segment of people that you feel, they almost don't count. These are people that want to eat something good, they want to feel good, but the billions of people that go to bed hungry every night, when, I mean, food shouldn't even be an option, you know? And then the advertiser teach poor folks that you're supposed to eat this, you're supposed to eat that. All you need is one thing. You can eat carrots today, you can eat beans tomorrow, you can eat beans the next day, and you can survive. You can survive. You know, something happened here in California maybe 20, 50, 30 years ago.
What was that?
The doctors went on strike.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
And they stayed on strike for a year and found out more folks died that year than ever before. They hurried up and came off the strike.
Right.
And so they're just the myth that we have, what we put in children's food in schools, the chemicals in the average. Here's what we need to do. Whenever there's a murder or a shootout or somebody go and wipe out something, the first thing we should do is check the blood to see what chemicals they have in their body that come from the food they were eating. Okay, see, you hear old folks now say, well, when we was their age, you didn't have additives in your food. For instance, the #1 cause of cancer, let me put it, the #1 cancer group in America today is vegetarians. It comes from soybean.
Yes.
They won't have a debate about is soybean good or soybean. There is no debate. The black scientist, George Washington Carver, at Tuskegee, Alabama, invented soybeans for the United States government, the military. They said, we want you to create something that out of it we can get rayon, nylon, paint, ink, glue, and plastic. About 80 years ago, they made a car out of soybean. And so now you have people that get cancer. I have a daughter that eats pure than anybody could ever want to eat. She just had major surgery because she couldn't be convinced that soybean. Most of the fibroid tumors in America, soy product. And so when you stop and think about what they're able to do, America is the only country in the world that can genetically engineer the food and don't have to label it. Every place in the world, you have to label it, except here.
What about organic soy?
There is no, see, we always keep looking for something.
Yes.
Soybean was not made for human consumption.
For animals.
It wasn't even made for animals, okay? And so consequently, we keep saying, well, what about organic this? Well, let's look at organic. They make organic tomatoes, crossbreed with a fish cell. What does that mean? That means the tomato can hold water. So you put a tomato on your kitchen table and leave it there for 6 weeks, it's just pretty and red. The people who eat those tomatoes, their body holds water. So when I go to my doctor and the doctor knows nothing about this and check me, he think I need water pills. He think I'm having a problem with something malfunction. They do this for all kinds of, for instance, on soda pop, there's an expiration date. Once it passed that date, those chemicals turn into a mild poison. They wouldn't kill you. They got a case in federal court now in northern Dallas where they found out Coca-Cola was taking the expired soda pops out of the white community, taking them to this warehouse, redating them and put them in the black community. Now, are the pharmaceutical companies doing the same thing? Is Coca-Cola the only one in the Fortune 500 company that's ornery and vicious and ungodly? They all doing it. And so consequently, you know, even when you talk about, look, if you and I grew 10,000 acres of grain and decided we're going to give it to starving nations, we can't, because that grain is licensed. It's just like if Stevie wanted to do a song, you can't use it without his permission. That's where they are. That's where they are today. And so they do anything they want to do.
Oh, they give us what they want, not what we want.
Well, they give us what we take.
Yeah, we take it.
And we've been taking it for long to rise up and act against it. Somebody say something. So they're trying to get legislation now that if you even hint that somebody's doing something wrong to the food, that's a felony.
Right.
That's about to get through. I can't think of the number that's on it. That's about to be pushed through now.
Right, but that's also manipulated also by the companies.
Sure.
You know, like the biotech.
But there'll be some of us that'll be willing to go to jail.
Let me ask you then, you know, there's a big controversy about what kids need in food and what kids get in food. You know, and there's so much with school lunches and all this, where kids are eating junk food and all this. Take for granted, unfortunately, that's the case. So is there any food, one food you could recommend, or two foods, that perhaps would be maybe more of an ideal food, a well-balanced food, having nutrients, but maybe perhaps hopefully organic, you know, thing that you might think would be a good...
Well, you see, one day soon we're going to have to stop talking about that and talk about the seeds. Who controls the seeds?
Yes.
If you was a farmer in this country, if you don't buy those genetically engineered seeds, you can't get your farm grain.
No, I know, because then they're...
Okay, so they got you boxed in for everywhere.
Right.
So we want to make it sound simple and say, what can we do with children? I'm not interested in children. If the old folks rise up and say, you're not going to do it, the children are safe.
Right, they're following.
You know, and so this is again, you know, you see this DeSanti water that's made by Coca-Cola. One day this week, pull up on your computer, the largest fine in the history of Europe was against Coca-Cola because they found out that DeSanti water is nothing but tap water purified with arsenic and benzene.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
And so you go here, you come in this hotel, there's no water sold in this hotel but DeSanti water because they had that type of power. We might have almost let them go too far. You know, how do you pull it back in? You got to do it. You have to have enough people with the courage to do it. But the school lunch program, these are just big bunch of conglomerate thugs that put it in there, and it's not going to be a walk in the park. Look, if you wanted to change something, you organize a group and you call for a boycott of Christmas. Now here's what I mean. In America, 82% of all retail takes place between Thanksgiving and Christmas. You got companies stay in business all year and lose just to... Now, once you threaten to do that, then they will go in and change the laws. Why do the turkey industry have to suffer? Because these folks are not going to do that, or these folks are not going to do that. That's what you have to do, and you got to sit down and you got to plan it, and you got to really look into it and feel it, because what they're able to do now and get away with. I'll give you an example. If you took your camera and went across the country into the black community, now the one thing everybody have to do, regardless of the economy, I got to eat, okay? I don't have to pay the cost note, I don't have to pay the car note, I don't have to pay no, I have to eat. Then why are the major supermarkets leaving the inner city? If people got to eat, why are you running? Because now they're being replaced with convenience stores. Go in a convenience store and see if you see an apple, orange, a peach, or onion, or a carrot. That's what. So now, if I go to a convenience store in the black community, there's nothing there but chips and salty food and all kinds of sweet stuff.
Sweet
okay?
junk. Yes.
But that junk tastes good.
It tastes good, but it doesn't do any good.
No. The more oppressed I am, the more sweetness in my life. I don't know its rights, I think it's taste. And so consequently what I'm saying is, how long will it take before they can keep putting that in and people take it? Another thing, listen.
Well, the behavior. They see the behavior.
Yeah.
They're not realizing it's the behavior of the children and the adults
Let
affected
me
by
say
it.
this, we do one more question. Let me say this. We found out now that a woman or a man that smokes cigarettes, the baby that's created will be affected. We know, we didn't know that before. We also found out now that a pregnant woman, okay, that's around smoke, the baby's affected. So anytime you go to these punk motherfuckers who like marijuana, you can't convince them that if a cigarette will mess up a newborn baby while it's in the mother's womb. What do you think marijuana will do? That's what you got the problem with. You got all these folks over here that think this is a right. Sure it is. But what about the baby? And if we dumb enough to believe that a cigarette, me smoking a cigarette, and my wife get pregnant, the DNA I pass on, you think it's not going to happen with all the drugs, with all of this and all of that? So you got this whole group of everybody that sit around and think, because they want you to believe that. And once they can make you believe that, they can knock off anybody they want. I sit around. I'm getting ready to leave and go to Europe for a big peace rally. The money they take off my taxes on my first class plane ticket will buy bombs and chemicals to drop on women and children. So when that shit falls on my grandchildren and my wife and family, I hope I have enough strength to say, okay, my it's payback time. But we don't do that. We think because we over here doing this here, this makes us like, you don't do nothing in degree. You can't be a little bit pregnant, okay, without being all the way pregnant. So we at the point now where it's over. I mean, it's over unless something happened and that's out of our hands. When I was a little boy in the Midwest, I didn't know about forest fires. But I used to hear about forest fires. And when it got real bad, you see the governor, wasn't on TV, we didn't have TV, and said if we don't get a shift in the wind, we can't save it. So I'm grown up and I never read where a state burnt down, which means what? There was a shift in the wind. Who determines the shift in the wind? Okay. Now it's hard for people to be convinced that we have a microwave up in Katuna, Alaska. 90% of the weather patterns in the last 70 years is caused by what we manipulate. Well, you try to explain to my grandmother that can't nobody cause a tornado. They know now that I used to hear when I was a little boy about the dust storms, all that was created. Okay, so now how do you convince the tsunami, all the stuff that happened in New Orleans, all that was manipulated? Because my grandmother believed can't nobody create, they had just came up 3 months ago, which means 3 years, where they came up with an artificial cell. So that means they can make people, they've been making people. Right. But you got these whole church people that believe certain things God do and certain things that they just don't know. America, I've always said this, if God don't do something quick to America, then God owes a serious apology to Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay,
Right.
Thank you.
I want to thank you very much. To wait tonight with our wonderful guest here, Mr. Dick Gregory. Honor to have you.
Thank you, brother. Peace
Bye-bye.
to you.